Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a really crappy new recording of Carl Orff's Carmina Burana. It's really the first one we've had in a long time. I mean, I kind of collect Carmina Buranas because I sang it, when I was in high school and played percussion in the two pianos and percussion youth version that Orff made. And so I really, relish hearing it. But this was just bad. It features, let's see, who does it feature here? The Tonhalle-Orchester Zürich under Paavo Järvi. I thought he would do it really, really well. I did, and I was so disappointed. The soloists are Alina Wunderlin. She's the best. She's a good soprano. She does a good job. Emanuel Cenčić, the countertenor. Well, that's interesting. And Russell Braun, the baritone, who's lousy. He's just he can barely hit pitches. I mean, his tone is dry and wobbly and yuck. Well, we'll get to him in a minute. The chorus is the Zürcher Sing-Akademie. Okay. And the Zürcher Sängerknaben. Okay. Not special. Nothing about this is special. In fact, it's so damn ordinary. I mean, it isn't even well recorded. It has this sort of blowsy, dark, covered, hooded, I don't know. I thought it was like live because the sound seemed to be absorbed by something like an audience. Maybe they were soaking up the timbres, but no, it's just kind of murky, and you don't want murk. Orff does not work well with murk. Orff and murk don't go well together, and so what is the problem here? Well, okay, we'll take it bit by bit. Ordinarily, Carmina Buranas come in two different flavors. You get the Stravinsky flavor, where everything is razor sharp and clear and really rhythmic, like, Tilson Thomas was like that. Ozawa's early one was like that. It's just, that sort of, the Muti is like that. Sharp and precise. And it works wonderfully that way. It really does. Or you get the sort of jolly ho-ho Oktoberfest, Lederhosen, Munchner Oktoberfest kind of variety, where you get the German folk element and emphasis on, the subtle coloration that Orff imbues his endless ostinatos. That's like Joachim does it that way. Herbert Kegel does it that way. It's not as percussive necessarily, but it's full of bonhomie and fun to listen to. It really is. So those are your sort of two spheres. This is nothing. This isn't either of them. It doesn't have the rhythmic precision and clarity of the Stravinsky kind, nor does it have the rusticity and joy and folksiness of the Munchker kind. And so the result is that it's a nothing. It's a big fat nothing. The initial O Fortuna. Okay, O Fortuna. Don't insult me by not having a tam-tam, folks. I mean, the Tonhalle-Orchestra has this dark, dull. I mean, it's symbolic of the whole performance. Yes, quietly you hear it, but when it gets loud, it's nothing's there. It's just this terrible. I mean, and frankly, I know I catch a lot of crap because I always talk about tam-tams, but they are indicative, that's the word, of the performance as a whole. If the conductor does not care about the sound of what should be the loudest thing in the orchestra and something that's only used as a solo, basically, then how much can they care about other things that matter more, like trumpets or violins or all these other things? I've in my long career I have found that the way that they handle the tam-tam is often a very useful indicator of what is to come. Now, there are some performances where that's not terribly true, like the Herbert Kegel recording and some others, but basically that's pretty accurate. Anyway, so O Fortuna it has no particular fatalistic, relentless, threatening quality at all. The chorus strikes me as maybe too small. I don't know, because at the very end of it, mecum omnes plangite, there's actually there's actually a syncopated rhythm underneath it in the male voices. It's mecum omnes tangite, like that. I mean, I know because I sang it. And so you want to hear that tension. You don't have to hear separate parts, but you've got to hear that tension. And you don't hear. So there's that. And then right away with, ecce gratum, for example, the quiet bits, they dies, whatever, de veris late, facies, that's okay. Ecce gratum. Here's a really wonderful little detail at the end, right? Yangam zeta tris esta zeta no quid zeta em disa vitia. Then it goes em disa vitia. Then the orchestra's going. Well, you don't hear that very well. The melodic aspect isn't brought to the fourth. Then it's da 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 with the chime goes bong plank like this. You don't hear that. And so it goes. And so it goes. I mean, they're just really, really uninteresting performances, flabbily sung, lacking in detail. Now, when you get to the solos, the male solos, particularly here, like this guy, Russell Braun. Oh my gosh, he's just terrible. I mean, it just doesn't. It's hard to tell what notes he's actually singing sometimes. His voice is that dry. And the problem with the baritone solos is they've got to be doing some really high stuff. Some falsetto stuff, which he has real problems with, and choosing that's in the second part, in the tavern, with Emanuel Cenčić or whatever his name is, the countertenor. That's a mistake. That's just a plain mistake. Orff wrote that solo, the song of the roasted swan, which is the only thing the tenor sings, for a regular tenor singing at a very strained high register, because he's a roasting swan. He's supposed to sound like he's getting roasted and panicked, and it's supposed to sound really strangulated. Well, to be beautifully sung by a specialist in falsetto register is not what Orff intended, even though he tries very hard to sob with his voice. To milk the text, to bring in that kind of sadness. But that's too artsy. That's not what Orff intended at all. So that's a misfire, however beautifully it may be sung. And then we've got, in the last part, the Field of Love or whatever the whole thing is called. Well, that's where the soprano comes in, and she's very good, like I said. So that partly redeems it. Although in Trutina, when she has to do that, it's too fast. He takes it at a very flowing tempo, no doubt, so that she can hold that last note. But there are many other performances that are half the tempo, where the soprano has no trouble sustaining that. And the winds are going da 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 da. With that soprano holding and holding and holding. Sometimes, if it's really at the correct tempo and they can't, they simply break the note and take a breath. So what? They do it. It's okay. But you shouldn't disturb the calm beauty of the piece by playing it that quickly, just to allow the soprano not to have to breathe on the last note. Or you get another soprano. I don't know. You make up your mind. At Veni Venias, where you have a semi-chorus that goes nazaza. That's all they do. And at the very end, it's semper, semper, and underneath it, you're supposed to hear nazaza, nazaza, nazaza. Well, you don't hear any nazazas. That's like having no tam-tam. If you have no nazaza, what's the point? And that's the reason, by the way, it makes sense to talk about the tam-tam, because if you can't hear the tam-tam, chances are you ain't going to hear any nazazas either. Get it? Anyway, you see where this is going. It's just a performance in which virtually every moment can be heard to better effect on another performance. I wouldn't say that it's dreadful. It's not incompetent, but it's dingy. It's like old furniture. I don't know how else to describe it. It just seems used and tired and lacking in color and I don't know. I was shocked. I expected a lot out of this. Alpha should not have released it. It should not have been recorded. It just is a nothing. So there you have it, my friends. Nothingness, courtesy of Paavo Järvi and the Tonhalle-Orchester of Zürich. Boy, They could do so much better. So this goes, garbage. Keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.